In this video, we are going to be testing a camera intent. So we're going to be testing something that is part of the Android framework itself. So it's an intent that launches the camera app, the default one that comes with the phone. And then we're going to be retrieving that image and setting it to an image view and then making sure that an image has been in fact set to that image view. So we're actually checking a couple of things here. We're going to be testing to see the intent itself. So using, the intent test rule, which we looked at in the previous video. You should go back and watch that if you haven't. It's on my YouTube channel. It's on my website. It's free. There'll be links down below. So we're testing the intent, but we're also testing the drawable that's going to be set from the result of the intent. So we're going to build a custom drawable matcher that finds out if there is in fact a drawable set to an image view. So a couple things to test, but still a pretty simple, pretty basic example. So I'll just do an app demo here before we move on to take a look at the code. So it's a simple app. I just click down here on this text view. It says launch camera. It will launch the default camera app. I can hold down Alt and look around here in this little simulated camera environment. I can then click on the camera button. I could click the check mark, and then now that result gets sent back to the activity and set to the image view. So right away you might notice that this image is kind of blurry. It's not like a good resolution image, and that's because we're only actually retrieving the thumbnail of the actual image that was taken, and that's because it just makes things simpler. We could have retrieved the actual image, but it's just it's more work and it doesn't really add value to this demonstration, since the purpose of this is to test the intent itself and then test the result of the intent. So the quality of the image is not important. So where can you get this code, I guess, is the next question. There'll be a link in the description of this video. If you haven't been following along, this is actually part of a beginner's course for UI testing on Android. I'll just show you the course really quick on my website, codingwithmitch.com. This course is completely free. If you want to watch it, just go to codingwithmitch.com, go up to courses, go to UI testing for beginners, and there'll be all the lectures that you should watch here. This lecture is one of them. Or you can go to YouTube. It's on my YouTube channel also. So that is where to watch the rest of the course, where to get the code, what we're going to be doing. One last thing, I guess, actually, before we do it. So right now I'm looking at the Android Google samples for their testing samples. So github.com/Android testing samples. You can see the URL up there. This is just a repository of a bunch of UI testing samples that the Android team has put together. This particular video that I'm filming right now is pretty much following this intense advanced sample pretty much exactly. I think it actually is literally exactly what they do. So if you wanted to take a look at the actual code that they've put out for us as developers to take a look at, you can go here and take a look at it. But this video, I just wanted to let you know that I'm going to be pretty much following that exactly as we move forward here. All right, so let's open up Android Studio and take a look at the code. So as you saw from the demo, we have a single activity, that's main activity. It's pretty straightforward. There's just an on-click listener on the text view that will start the camera intent. So this function down here, dispatch camera intent, here I'll give us some more room so you can see here, creates an intent of media store action image capture, start activity for result, passes the intent, and then passes the constant that we can use to then retrieve the result later on. So if you go up to the top here, you can see that there's a constant request image capture, just 1, 2, 3, 4. It's a random number. You could put anything here. And then we have this other constant up here. This is key image data, and that equals data. So that's required to retrieve the intent extra from the camera intent coming back. And you can actually see that in the documentation, which I'll pull up here. So if you go to the Android documentation in the training section, go training camera photo basics. This link right here, get the thumbnail of the image, is exactly what we are doing. So you get the bitmap data.extras.get that. See, there's that keyword data right there, and that's what we are actually retrieving. So if you're curious, you can take a look at the docs and see how they do it. Oh, they actually outline also down below how to get the full-sized photo if you're curious. But like I said, we're not going to be doing that. We're only interested in the thumbnail since the quality doesn't matter for the example. So then we have the onActivity result function that retrieves the result from the camera, and then once the image bitmap is retrieved from the extra, it gets set to the image view that is in the layout. Pretty straightforward, there's nothing fancy here. The only thing that other than what I've talked about already that I want you to notice about this is that we're not using glide to set the image. So notice that I'm doing image.setImageBitmap and setting it that way. Even though I do have the glide dependency in here because I forgot to remove it, but I'm going to remove it right now. We are not using glide for this test. We're not using glide because glide requires a lot more sort of setup to test. which I'm going to be talking more about in the advanced course. So I'm going to make another course after this one for advanced UI testing with Espresso. There's a lot more steps involved because by default, I can't set an image with glide and then test the presence of that drawable or that bitmap. It doesn't work. I honestly don't know why. I tried. Some of you might be thinking, oh, you need to use the Espresso idling resource or some other thing. No, none of it works. The only way to get it to work is to stub out the Espresso functions and have a separate test class that you can use. I don't want to talk about it because it will take too long, but I'm going to put it in the advanced course. So if you're wondering how to test your Glide or Picasso or whatever image loader that you're using, I'm going to be covering that in the advanced course. So leave a comment below actually if you're waiting for that, because I'm kind of curious to see how many people are actually interested in that. So now that we're in the build.gradle file, let's look at the dependencies. So the one you need to test intents is espresso-intents, which if you watched the previous video before this one, you already know that. We need all of these extra dependencies also if you're testing intents, which it outlines in the Android documentation under the intents testing section, which I can bring up here. So developer.android.com, training, testing, Espresso, intents. Here it shows the dependencies. So if you're curious, again, if this is the first video you're watching, you didn't watch the previous one, you don't know that you need those. So those are the dependencies. Now let's go into the manifest because we are using the camera. So we need a feature. We're using the camera. We need that special permission. Notice that's up there. And that is the last thing. Now I'm going to stop talking. Well, I'm going to keep talking, but we are going to now look at we're going to write an actual test now. So now you know everything that's happening in the app, you know what the dependencies are, what the permissions are, where to get more information in the docs. You're ready to go. So the first thing we are going to do is create a new test class. I'm actually going to go into main activity, right click on the activity name, go to generate, and I'm going to generate a new test class. Click OK, click OK. And now this is where we are going to write our test. So the first thing is we need a special rule. So you need a special rule when you're testing intents. So I'm going to write @getRule. This is going to be our intents test rule. It's going to be of type IntentTestRule. And then we need to specify the class that we're testing. So this is main activity, so mainActivity.class. Now the test function we will generate using Android Studio. So I'm going to press Alt Insert here, go to test function, and this function is going to be named test camera intent, because that's technically all we're testing here. Well, actually, we're not just testing the camera intent, because later we are going to make a custom matcher for the image. So technically we are testing the camera intent, but we're also going to test the presence of that image. So maybe I'll add something to this. Is bitmap set to ImageView? So pretty descriptive. Some of you might be wondering why I'm using such a long name, but I want to make sure that the intent of this test is very clear. So what are we testing? A camera intent. Okay. Oh, also we're testing is a bitmap set to the image view. So you could also use like is result set to image view, something like that, but definitely along the lines, you want to make sure to specify the exact things that you're testing in the function. Okay, so the first stuff is the stuff that we're given. What are we given? We're given, we need an activity result. This is going to be the result that we retrieve from the intent. So I'm going to create a function to basically stub out what the result of the intent should be. So this function is going to be called create image capture activity result stub. And again, if you watch the previous video, the one that I made before this, we made a function that had the exact same name, I believe, but it was a little different, obviously, because we were testing a different intent. But this is going to return a activity result object, get that static import for that instrumentation, and now I'm going to build this out. So first we need bundle, value bundle, it should be getting an import there. I don't know why it changed recently. I think the previous versions of Android Studio, if you didn't get the import right away, it would keep asking you. But this one, if you like ignore it and go to the next line, see, now it stops asking me. It doesn't ask me for that import anymore. I don't like that. I wish they'd go back to the old way. But anyway, so value bundle, we want to put a parsable to the bundle. So put parsable. The key here is going to be that key that I declared inside of main activity. So this is, remember, it's just that data key, because we're retrieving that result from the intent. So key image data, and we're getting a bitmap. So I'm going to write bitmap factory decode resource, and we're going to use a resource that's inside of the drawables folder here to create a fake kind of image that's returned from the camera. Because obviously, just like if you watched the previous video, you know that we can't test for a particular image that's retrieved from any device's memory, like from the gallery. You can't test that. It's impossible because you can't guarantee that that particular image is going to be on the device. So instead, we can use images that are inside the Drawables folder. Like I'm going to use this IC launcher background because it's pretty much guaranteed to be inside of the Drawables of every device. So bitmap factory.decode resource. I'm going to get this takes a couple parameters. The first one is the context. Now in the previous video, I showed you how to get the context from the instrumentation registry. So you can do like instrumentation registry, get instrumentation, and then you can get the context that way. But another way you can get the context is through the intent test rule. So I can go intent test rule dot activity, and there we go, I have the context. But this takes resources, so now I get the resources just by calling resources. So now the drawable that we're interested in is r.drawable.ic launcher background, like I mentioned, and now there is our bitmap that we're going to return from our pretend camera intent. So now we want to get the result data, so result data equals a new intent. So initialize that, get that import, and then result data.set data, and set it to that bundle. So result data set data, no, it's put extras, sorry. Result data put extras, and then put the bundle. There we go. Now I want to return activity result. I want to use the activity result OK constant because that's what we're checking for in the activity, and then pass that result data. All right, so now coming back up to our test function up here, we have our kind of fake result that we're going to get from the intent. Now I want to create that expected intent. So expected intent equals, I guess I'll write the type here. It's a matcher, an intent matcher. Get that import. Again, this was, make sure you get the correct library. So the org.hamcrest import there. Again, like I said, like I was about to say, we did all of this in the previous video when we tested for the gallery intent. One of the differences here is we used all of here. We used a little, I guess, builder, you would say all of, because we passed multiple arguments to the intent in main activity. So here we're only using a single argument. We have media store.action image capture, whereas in the other example, the previous example, we had a second one here. So because we only have one, we don't need to use all of, we can just set a single one. So this is the has action. So I can just write has action, get that import, and this is going to be media store dot action image capture. So exactly the same thing that's in main activity. Now I want to write intending, get that import, intending the expected intent, and then we want to respond with that activity result. So again, same sort of pattern that we looked at in the previous example. We have the intent that we expect to see, and we expect to see a result that looks like that, and we're going to respond with that result. Now I want to execute and verify. Now I want to trigger the intent, so I want to look for that button. So r.id.button launch camera. I'm going to do perform that click. You should be very familiar with this by now. This with ID, performing clicks, all this on view stuff we've looked at a lot already. Now I want to do intending. What do I intend to see? I intend to see the expected intent. So that would be the end of the test in regard to testing the intent itself. But we are going to take this test one step further, and we're going to build a custom drawable matcher to find out if there is in fact a drawable that gets set to the image view. So if for whatever reason, if we look at main activity, if this failed or this was not called, then it would fail. So that's what we're going to test. But in the meantime, we're actually going to run this test just to make sure that we've done everything right correctly so far. So I'm going to run the main activity test, and then once this test passes, we'll go and we'll build that custom matcher. Okay, so there we get our good old-fashioned green check mark down there, so we know that we did everything correctly. Now let's build this custom matcher so that we can check inside of the widget, the ImageView widget, to see if there's a drawable, because by default there is nothing that does that. So let's right-click on the main package directory inside of test, and I'm going to create a new Kotlin file, and this is going to be called ImageView has drawable matcher. So this is going to be a singleton object, so we can just call the function that we're going to build inside here with no instantiation required. So object ImageView has drawable matcher. Function has drawable is what it's going to be called, and it's going to be of type, or it's going to return of type bounded matcher, view, and image view. So the thing that we're looking at here, the thing that we're analyzing, is an image view. But before I actually write this out, I actually want to just talk a little bit about what is this bounded matcher thing. So there's a couple different matchers that you can use when you're building custom tests. You can use matchers, bounded matchers, type safe matcher, I believe is the other one. And they're all a little different. They just do slightly different things, but they accomplish the same kind of structure, the same goal. So I'm not going to be talking about the differences, the intricacies, how to like build custom matchers like in detail in this video. I'm probably, if you guys want, leave a comment below and let me know that you're interested in that kind of thing, because there's tons of different custom matchers you can build. I would build some for you. I'd make some videos for you guys if you're interested. But if you are interested, it's going to be put into the advanced course, because that's not really a beginner thing. So let me know in the comments. But otherwise, we're going to continue with building this matcher. Now I want to return an object of type bounded matcher, again, view and image view. So view and image view. And the constructor will take an image view class. So image view class.java. And now open this up and get the two members. So alt enter on there, implement members, get describe to and matches safely. These are the two functions that are required to build a custom matcher. And if you so as a caveat, or as a side note before I continue here, if you ever have something in your application that you are unsure of how to test, like how to test if like maybe a hint is inside of a text view, or a particular image is in an image view. This one's going to be very simple, but there's more advanced versions of these matchers. Basically, if you're trying to test the presence of something in a view, any kind of view, and you're not sure how to do it, there's lots of custom matchers out there. People have built them. They put them on Stack Overflow. They show you how they use them. So if you're curious, if you're ever kind of wondering how to test something you're not sure, just Google like image view matcher, text view matcher, whatever kind of matcher, recycler view matcher, and you'll find lots of examples, and you can kind of just explore those and see if you can find an example that fits your project. So first we'll do the describe to function here. So describe to, this is just going to print something to the log. So this is pretty much strictly for debugging and to see it's just to give more information about the test itself. And you'll see it in the log cat if you look at, or not in the log cat, in run when you run the test. It'll say has drawable, or like whatever you put in here, it's going to put, it's like an identifier for the test. Now matches safely is the actual logic that the test requires to pass. So in this case, we're writing a very simple test. This is just checking to make sure that the image view is not null. And if it's not null, then I'm getting the drawable from it. So item drawable, and checking if it's not null. So if there is a drawable in fact set to the image view, then our test is going to pass. If there's no drawable, if the image view is null, any of those circumstances, then the test won't pass. And so there's obviously more robust tests you can do here. Like you could literally check for like a specific bitmap. If that bitmap doesn't match the bitmap that you want to be there, you know, those kind of things. But this is a simple test, so this is as far as we are going. So let's go into main activity test. All right, so now let's use this new custom matcher. So first, I want to check actually before I even click the button. So before I trigger the intent, I want to make sure that there is no image inside of that image view. So because there should be no image until an image is taken with the camera and then set. So I want to check if it matches, and I want to say not. So not getting those imports. Making sure, I think any of these are good, like org hamcrest core is not, or org hamcrest matchers, or org hamcrest core matchers. Any of these are fine. You can get any of those ones. Get the matches import. This is, make sure to get the view assertions import on that one. And I want to check that has drawable is not working. So has drawable, and it will require an import. So this has drawable right here is the one that we just built. That's referencing this function right here, has drawable. It takes nothing as input. It's just checking to see if there is a drawable set to the image view. So I'm saying not because I'm saying there should not be a drawable. So now after the intent and after all this, then we want to check to see if there is a drawable. So same thing, r.id.image, and then check if it matches has drawable. And that's all we're going to do. So now I'm going to run, looks like I got an error right here. Why is that giving me an error? Oh, I said with and not with ID. There we go. All right, so let's run the test. So right click, run test. Let's see if it passes. And there we go, we get our green check mark. So that is going to be it for this video. Again, I want to say if you're, because chances are most of you use like Glide to set images, you use Picasso to set images, Coil, that's a new one. If you use any of those things to set your images and you're looking for tests to test, did Glide set that image? It's a much more complicated process than you expect, and it's much more complicated than it should be, I think, because I don't know, like I told you earlier in the video, I tried lots of times, lots of different ways, literally just saying, Glide, set this image, check if, and then writing a test that says, check if the image is there. It fails, no matter what I do. I don't know why. I tried the Espresso idling resource. I tried sleeping the thread to wait till the test or till the image review was set. Nothing would work. The only thing that did work was I just stubbed out like a fake image loader for the test, and that essentially does the same thing. So if you're looking to test, Glide, Picasso, Coil, whatever your image loader is, I'm going to be doing that in the more advanced course because it's just more advanced. This is a beginner course. I don't want to talk about advanced concepts. I just want to kind of stick to the very bare minimum, one tiny subject at a time for the beginner's course. So if you want more information, definitely follow me, subscribe, become a member on my website, and register. That way you'll get an email when the course is complete. And so that's going to be it. In the next video, we're going to test dialogues. So we are going to be testing, does a dialogue come into view? Is it the correct dialogue? Are the things in the dialogue, like if it's accepting input, are those fields correct? Checking to make sure that the input is captured and sent back to the activity or the fragment correctly, all that kind of stuff. I'll see you in the next video.